and 10 up, they're already born with it. But from the ages of about 3 months for some, up to even about a year for others, that is when the teeth begin to come out or erupt. And then by about 2.5 to 3 years, they would have finished having all their primary teeth or baby teeth come out. So that's the 20 of them, the 10 down and the 10 up. And within that period, they may have the discomfort that you alluded to, a bit of pain, some drooling of saliva, the gum being swollen, and just generally very cranky.
Okay. When exactly does teething begin? When exactly? Does it have like a particular time that you have to look out for? Because now there's some babies that start teething at 4 months. You can see it. When is the ideal time for a baby to start teething?
All right. It's a range between for some, a few, about 3 months, but generally from about 4 months all the way up to about 12 months. There are some who will teeth early and there are some who will teeth a bit later. But within this period is when they start showing their new teeth.
Okay. There are some parents who get concerned when after maybe the 6th or the 7th month, they don't see any signs of teething. Should parents be worried, and is this normal?
It's very normal. It's a range. And once the child falls within that range, there's no cause for alarm. For many of them, you may see that they have, we call it the bud. So the tooth may start showing somewhere in the gum small, and then gradually you see that there's a break in the skin, and then it starts to shoot out. So there's nothing wrong with waiting a little longer to see your baby's new teeth.
Okay, so when is the latest that you have seen a baby teeth?
So generally within that, like 12 months, but there have been reports of some coming around 14 months, around 1 year, 4 months or so. But between the 3 months to 1 year, the teeth should come out. If there are any concerns within this period, it's good for you to let your doctors know. So from just around the 4 months, which is a little early, but normal, through to about 6 to 8 months, generally you see many of these newborns having their teeth erupting, and that is where you see that they are complaining about the drooling and all those other concerns they have.
Okay. Crying is the biggest symptom for when a child is teething, no? What are the symptoms? How do you look out for when your baby is teething?
Crying, yes, because the gum will likely get swollen, maybe a little more red than usual, and the baby may want to bite a lot around that period. So you see that maybe during that time they want to suck a bit more often, or they are playing with your breast, they're just on it, nibbling on it, because it gives them a bit of comfort, and they generally would want to put things in their mouth that they can bite on within that period. And the saliva too, you see some drooling coming out, and if it's around that age that we've talked about, then you know that it's possible is the teething that is occurring. And often you may see something on the gum to show that the teeth is trying to come out. There have been reports of fever around this period as well, and typically the fever is not supposed to be very high, so not more than 38 degrees Celsius. So we encourage that our mothers have thermometers at home that they will use to check the body temperature of these children, because sometimes they say, oh, the body is hot, but when you use the thermometer, then you can objectively say that it's not warm after all. Yes.
Are there some babies who teeth without any symptoms at all? They just go through that period, they just sail through without any symptoms, no pain?
Hardly. I mean, you will definitely see a sign that the child is teething. Maybe one of the ones we've mentioned, not everything, but you definitely see something to show that the baby is teething.
Okay, so during this period, when there's pain and then there's discomfort and the mother doesn't know what to do, is there any medication to just sort of, just ease it? Some powders to put in there. What do you do?
Typically, we have what we call the teething rings. The teething rings are made of rubber. So like a hard rubber ring that the baby can easily bite on or chew on to soothe the gums, and it's just that swell. Yes, so this
That's an
is
example
yes,
of what's there.
that's an example of that they can use to just, they put it. And it's important that you keep it clean so that it doesn't cause them to have infections. But they bite on these teething rings depending on the age. You see, we mentioned that from about 3 months some of these babies will begin to teeth. And if around that time they begin teething, then apart from the breast milk that you're giving them, you can't give them any other food. But food is also something that can be used to soothe the pain. So let's say they want something to bite on. If they are 6 months and up, you could give them a biscuit or so, or a fruit that is a little firm to bite on. But because some of these can also cause choking risk, you need to be aware of whatever you're giving to the child at any point in time. Some have also used a damp cloth that is put in the freezer. So maybe you tie a small knot or something, you put it in a Ziploc bag, and then you freeze it, and you take it out when it's frozen, and you give it to the child. So the child will just be sort of nibbling on it. The cold helps to soothe the area of the gum that is swollen and painful. The teething ring can also be put into the fridge or freezer to get a little cold, and then it can soothe them a bit better. If you have tried maybe child has a low grade fever, like the temperature is there but not that, you could give a bit of paracetamol. If it persists, I'd say see your doctor, because around this time they may be pulling their ears as well. They may be doing all sorts of things, and you just want to also make sure that there's no other thing going on with a baby, like an infection or something else wrong with the baby.
Yeah, so it's best to get checked.
Yes, if you are not comfortable, you're not sure of what is going on.
Okay. But now, Doc, how about cleaning? When the teeth starts to show, or when you feel it, you feel it with your fingers, and you feel that the little bumps are beginning to form, what's the care? What care do you give to the gums and the teeth and the mouth area during that period?
Okay. There are often a lot of questions about how to clean the baby's mouth. People use all sorts of things, but a damp, let's say you have a small clean face towel or gauze, you can use with water to clean the mouth once a day, maximum twice a day. It's okay. At that age, that baby age, newborn age, you don't use any other chemical for the cleaning of the mouth. Then when the teeth start erupting around that 3 months or 4 months, depending on when it starts for your baby, you can still use the gauze or the small towel, clean towel, and water to do the cleaning. Just that, you still don't have to use any toothpaste or anything for that. Then later on, about a year and a half to the 2 years plus, you can then use some age appropriate toothpaste to clean the baby's mouth with the toothbrush. And from that 3 months or 4 months, there are some brushes which are very soft that can also be used. But even around that age, you should use it with water and not toothpaste. Then when they are the 1 year, 6 months into 2 years, you can use the
but I have seen Ghanaian mothers, in fact I'll use the women in my family, fresh tomato juice, when it's squeezed, a clean gauze or cloth, and then you wipe your baby's mouth. Is that advisable? Is it advisable, or we should stop that practice?
I know that people do it, but in the literature, what the dentists are recommending, what we the pediatricians are recommending, is the cloth or the gauze with the water, depending on the age of the child, because at that age the child is not really eating anything really that is going to cause them to have germs build up in their mouth. So you don't need to do too much, and all the chemicals also have their side effects. With the tomatoes, I'm yet to see exactly what is inside that makes them. I know that people do it, but that is not what we would recommend.
There are some people, if there are some people who believe that late teething means that the baby has an abnormality. Is this true?
Not always the case.
Okay.
Not always. And sometimes maybe it's teething late because there's, let's say, in the dental formula, maybe there's a curvature, or it's not going to erupt straight as it should. So some of those may cause the delays, but it's not always that if the tooth is erupting late, there's definitely a problem.
Okay, so
Yes.
in this case, are there telltale signs? Do you have to look out for maybe a particular feel or maybe a zigzag thing to know that this is abnormal or not, to take your child to the hospital?
All right, so when the teeth erupt, you expect them to erupt like straight. So there's a formula to it in a way. So the lower central incisors, that's the middle one at the bottom, those will show. I gave them a picture. I don't know whether they can show it.
I'm sure it's going to come up.
Those will show first, then the ones at the top will later show, then the lateral incisors at the top will come. The ones at the bottom, the lateral incisors, are the ones beside the two central teeth that everybody has.
Okay.
Then the first molars will come. Then after that, the canines, the ones that look like dog teeth,
teeth,
will
yes.
come. Those on the sides will come. And so once you have all these coming, you know that the baby's teeth, primary teeth or the baby teeth, have finished coming. Then around the 5-6 years, the others will, so it will shed, and then
Right.
the permanent teeth will come. So there are some problems with the denture or the dental formulation in some people's mouths. So sometimes you may have multiple teeth. Yeah, so this is just a normal child who has
The
lost
previous-
probably like 5 years. All right, so for that one, I spoke to it a bit, so maybe we
yeah.
can just
Okay.
So you see that even the picture that they just shown, it was straight.
Okay,
All
so we
the
are back
teeth.
to the chart.
Yes, so the chart is, so the central incisors are the ones in the middle with the blue at the top. Then the
Yes.
lateral incisors are the ones with the pink on the left.
Okay.
So the one at the bottom comes first, then at the top will come. For many children, this will be from about 6 months of age, but a few of them will have it before the 6 months. And you see how it looks. Everything looks in order, straight.
Yes, it does.
If your baby's teeth start coming and you see that maybe it's crooked, it's not looking nice, you can always pop in and talk to your dentist. So then you are sure whether it's something to worry about or not. But generally, the primary teeth will be lost, and then you will have the permanent teeth coming in.
Okay, so when should we expect our babies and our children to start losing their teeth?
From around 6 years. So this boy may be around 5-6
Okay.
years. So they start losing, and then it will get replaced by the permanent teeth. And this will continue till about 17 to 25 years, when people will generally have their the full set of teeth in their mouths.
Okay. Still staying with this issue. If a child, when a child loses a tooth, right? We hear that if it starts coming, if it starts growing, and the child puts stuff into their mouth, it deforms it.
Okay.
Can you tell us what's happening there? Give us some education so we know we are doing well.
All
or
right.
not.
So there are a few habits that children have which can affect the shape of the jaws in their mouth. Sorry, their jaws. So thumb sucking is one of the big things, and the bones of the face, they can move. So as you keep sucking your thumb, you cause the jaw to have what we call an open bite.
Okay.
So instead of your teeth closing fully, when you close your mouth, you may see that there's a bit of opening in the teeth. So I don't know whether it's easy to appreciate, but we call it an open bite.
Okay.
So we discourage thumb sucking. So things like that should be completely discouraged because they can cause movement of the teeth. And you shouldn't be putting things so that in the same vein or following the same principle. You shouldn't be putting things in your mouth, because it can cause subtle movements in the bones in the mouth and distort your face.
How about braces? How early would you suggest or advise that children get braces? How safe is it? That's the thing.
Braces, usually you see your dentist, and if the dentist finds a problem with the alignment of the teeth, they can recommend you to have braces. Usually what I know is after 10 years, but that is done after consultations. They've done consultations, and where there are maybe thumb sucking has become a big problem, they are able to put some, I don't know whether it's okay to say, gadgets in the mouth to prevent the child from sucking the thumb after all the basics have been exhausted. So usually you will want to do some lifestyle modification. You try to distract the child from sucking their thumb. You teach them techniques to cope with stress, because sometimes they'll suck their thumbs because they are anxious and they are just trying to handle a situation that they are not very comfortable with. So they soothe themselves with the thumb sucking. Some will suck their tongues. They will suck anything.
How do we stop our children from sucking their thumbs? What do we put on the thumbs? Ginger or pepper?
Wow. So none.
My producer Makagod was telling me that he used pepper for his children's thumbs. I don't know.
And did it work? I'm just wondering. But pepper is really
Mark, you
hot.
have to tell us that. Yes.
It's really hot. So
how do we stop our children?
All right. Generally, we would say that for some of these habits, you try and reward them when they practice the right things, rather than punishing them for doing the wrong. So you don't want them to suck their thumb. Then you go back to, why are they sucking their thumb? And they are sucking because they are anxious, they are in a stressful situation that they are trying to calm themselves in, and then they will just go ahead and suck. So you teach them, if you are stressed out, maybe take a walk.
Right.
If you are stressed out, maybe pick a book, maybe knit, maybe do something else to try and calm yourself rather than sucking your thumb. And when you see that there are periods when they are not sucking their thumbs, you give them a thumbs up. You sort of reward them. Yes, you acknowledge that they have done well. These help. The putting things, bitter things on, they are not really sustainable. I know that a few people will tell you that, oh, we did it anyway, but often a determined child will just go ahead and lick it all and continue. I know I sucked my thumb for a little bit, but and those
what did mom put
I think they
in?
put paracetamol and things. I don't think none of those went. I stopped when I was ready to stop, but there are these techniques which help to stop.
So does it also mean that for adults and children in their teens who suck their mouth, does it mean that when they were teething, they got used to doing that and the parents didn't stop them? How does that come about?
It may or may not be related to the teething at all. These are like habits that children form as a coping mechanism or strategy. And so there are things like the thumb sucking is one, the nail biting, the lip sucking, all those ones are habits. And sometimes they are associated with anxiety disorders. They may be associated with depression and other.
That's a girl who's...
Yes, she's enjoying her thumb.
Okay. So it's not always related. It could be...
Yes, it could be other things. But it's a habit and they were not stopped, or they did not stop and they continued. But if you find an adolescent sucking his or her thumb, you should look further. There may be some mental health issues behind there, because you don't expect an older child to be sucking their thumb.
Okay. And then also, are there any long-term effects of the teething process on a child's dental health as they grow older?
No, not likely. Not likely, because it's just a transient or a phase that will pass. It's just a period when the tooth is erupting, and when it's erupting, you will have the discomfort. Once it's erupted, you're okay. You don't feel anything anymore. The swelling goes down and baby is back to being well, until another tooth is ready to erupt. Then you may go through that cycle, but once you're done, you're done. And when they grow older, so when they shed around the 5-6 years and they start regaining they don't go through it as they went through as babies. They don't have that discomfort, that much discomfort compared to when they were babies.
Okay. Yes. And then during that period, to parents tend to give their children stuff to sort of, oh, stop crying, you know, give their children stuff. Are there any foods we should avoid?
It's so foods generally, as for sugar, we say avoid as much as possible. So the candy around this period may not be the best, but any other food age appropriate. So we would say breastfeeding until 6 months of age, and after that you continue with, you will start the complementary feeding, you will add the family food. So any food that the family eats is good enough for baby. The fruits are good, the vegetables are good, the child can have it from the 6 months of age. Before then, we wouldn't encourage that. And we won't also encourage that you give the baby the bottle, you leave the bottle in the baby's mouth at night while baby is sleeping. You have to take it out, otherwise they could start having dental caries even from that early age.
Okay. Thank you. This conversation has been insightful. Two things to take home to parents and guardians of children who are teething at this time.
Teething is a normal process for all children. We expect it from about 4 months through to about 12 months of age.
All right.
Don't worry too much if your baby begins to teeth. It's a phase that will pass. If at any point you're uncomfortable or your baby appears more ill than you should expect, just see your doctor.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Hilda Mante Biaboy is a pediatric, she's a pediatrician in the Pediatric Society of Ghana and the JH Health Connect. She's been talking to us about teething symptoms and some helpful hints to take home during that period. And this is how we are signing out of the BFS clinic. Still to come, there are discussions on the regulatory framework for small scale and community scheme. There are also discussions on assessing the 2023 mid-year budget. There's a discussion on the enterprise development fair, and there's also the social media corner with Jay and I later on. But coming up, Maltiti is standing by to bring us the latest in sports. We'll see you shortly.